Tonight at 5, we interview Mr. Wheeler, president of the Thomas Edison Birthplace Museum, and Mr. Hottinger, a carver from the Merry-Go-Round Museum in Sandusky, Ohio.
Today on the North Coast History Channel, we have Taylor Muncy and Jen Feathers reporting behind the desk, and Cody Heim and Rena Arter reporting out in the field, bringing you history every day of the week.
Good evening, Ohio. Today's date is December 13th, 2011. This is Jen Feathers reporting from the North Coast History Newsroom. Today in history, Dick Van Dyke was born in 1925. And Mary Todd Lincoln, President Lincoln's wife, was also born today in 1818.
Good evening, and this is Taylor Muncy. Also today in history, Saddam Hussein was captured in 2003. And today in 1972, it was the last day that a man was on the moon. But today's news report is catching up on the life of Thomas Edison, the man who changed the world as we know it. Thomas Edison was a brilliant man who invented the phonograph, which later became known as a record player. He also was the brains behind the motion picture camera. Without it, we wouldn't have the movies that we watched in our everyday lives.
As we can see, Thomas Edison has made a huge impact on our life. Now to reporter Cody Heim in Milan, Ohio.
Thanks, Jen. I'm at the Edison Birthplace Museum in Milan, Ohio with Mr. Wheeler. How are you today, Mr. Wheeler?
I'm doing great. Thanks for coming.
Thank you very much for having me. Could you give us some background information on Thomas Edison?
The world's greatest inventor who changed the world like no one else in history was born in this house in 1847. At that time, this was still the frontier. He went to school for 3 months. Teacher said he was stupid and addled and couldn't learn. His mom took him out. She had faith in her boy and taught him how to learn, how to read, how to study. He later said, "I owe everything to my mother."
What a great mother that is. And can you tell us when this was turned into a historical museum?
We were open to the public February 11th, 1947, by his wife and daughter as a tribute to the man, to show humble beginnings, to show that independence of thought and that hard work are what is needed to be successful.
Can you tell us about some of the more unknown ones?
It's not really an invention, but he's the first one to come up with an industrial research lab where you bring many people together. He has the first patent in electronics. He's the first man to record sound and replay it, first man to record motion and replay it. He virtually creates the entire entertainment industry.
Sounds like you really innovated what we do today. And can you tell us how long he lived in Milan, Ohio?
His first 7 years, the most formative years.
I see. Thank you very much for taking the time to do an interview, and have a nice day.
Our pleasure. Thanks.
Back to you, Jen.
Thank you, Cody. Carousels are among the most popular attractions at amusement parks around the world. It is known to be invented all the way back in 500 AD by the Byzantine Empire. It consisted of baskets in which riders sat in, suspended from a center pole. The first carousel in the United States was built in the 1880s in Hessville, Ohio.
Wow, that is very interesting, Jen. Now we're going to hear from Rena Arter at the Merry-Go-Round Museum in Sandusky, Ohio.
Thanks, Taylor. This is Rena at the Merry-Go-Round Museum with one of the horse carvers, Steve Hottinger. How you doing, Steve?
Hi, Rena. Fine, thank you.
So what got you started in horse carving?
I had a relative that was special to me that I decided to carve a Santa for.
Interesting. How many hours from start to finish does it take to carve a horse?
We estimate about 400 to 500 hours from the time we start with rough sawn lumber until we have a finished horse.
Wow. What types of tools are needed to do the work?
We use large machinery to mill the lumber initially and get it glued, the horse glued together, and then we start using chisels and mallets such as these, same as they used 100 years ago to carve horses.
How many pieces of wood are used in creating the horses?
Normally about 30 to 40 pieces of wood go into a horse.
Thank you for having me here today. Back to you, Taylor.
Thanks, Rena. Thank you for watching our broadcast today, and be sure to tune in tomorrow at 5 o'clock. This is Taylor Muncy
And Jen Feathers reporting from the North Coast History News Channel. Don't forget to like us on Facebook and download our mobile app.